anyone else has joined.
Perfect. We are recording.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nancy Isserlis. I'm the chair of the Washington State Public Disclosure Commission, and I will be presiding officer for today's hearing. Today is August 17th. The time is 1 p.m. This hearing is being conducted under the authority of RCW 34.05, the Administrative Procedure Act, WAC 390-28, and RCW 4217A, the Campaign Disclosure and Contribution Act. This hearing is being held by teleconference through Microsoft Teams. The proceedings are being video and audio recorded. Today, I'm joined by the Vice Chair, Alan Hayward, and we will hear matters involved in a number of brief enforcement hearings. In each case, the PDC staff have provided a written record for each case. Each respondent who's chosen to appear today by Teams has had the opportunity to submit a statement in writing and waive their right to appear. If you've chosen to appear today after the case is called and the staff presents their materials, you'll be sworn in and asked to make any comments or response that you have. So at this time, I would ask that the PDC staff present identify themselves, and I'll swear them in as a group so that they can present their cases.
I'm Tabitha Townsend, Compliance Coordinator.
Jordan Campbell, Compliance Coordinator.
Kim Bradford, Deputy Director. I don't plan to present, but may have some information that you'll find useful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else from the staff?
No, Ian is out today.
Okay, well, we're in good hands then. I'm not worried about it. If you all would be sworn in, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right, so at this point, I will turn the meeting over to the staff to give us an overview of how the cases will go today.
And I will be presenting the overview today. So this is a brief overview of the candidate C1 and F1 group enforcement that we're hearing today. Today's brief adjudicative proceeding, or BAP, concerns 2023 candidates whom PDC staff allege have violated RCW 4217A 205 and or 700 by failing to file or timely file a candidate registration C1 report or personal financial affairs statement F1 report, or both, that were due to be filed with the PDC within 2 weeks of candidacy or no later than June 2nd, 2023. The timeline for these matters is as follows. PDC staff emailed candidates reminders regarding their missing C1s or F1 reports on May 18th, May 22nd, May 26th, and June 1st of 2023. On June 8th of 2023, the PDC emailed and mailed warning letters to candidates regarding their missing reports for election year 2023. On July 13th, PDC staff mailed and emailed hearing notices to candidates regarding their missing reports for election year 2023, including the option to resolve their case by submitting the missing report or reports online and mailing a signed statement of understanding, also known as the SOU, and a $100 civil penalty payment for each late filed report to the PDC that was to be postmarked no later than August 7th, 2023. The resolved cases report for candidates C1 and F1 reports that is appended to the brief enforcement hearing case list, also known as the GE case list, shows the cases that PDC staff were resolved prior to today's hearing through either an SOU or by closing administratively. The remaining candidate cases are grouped into categories on your case list based on similar fact patterns. And do you have any questions prior to starting?
I don't.
No.
Okay, perfect. So then we're going to take several of our participants first, and I have them grouped by category here. So Anna Lindstrom, case number 139587. If you would like to unmute, I will present your case and then you will be sworn in to give your testimony. So
I'm
this,
here.
okay, perfect. This is PDC case 139587 against Anna Lindstrom, who is a candidate for hospital commissioner with San Juan Hospital District 1. Ms. Lindstrom is a first-time candidate for public office. There are no priors.
Yes,
Staff-
actually, I am sorry to interrupt. I am currently a serving commissioner.
All right,
perfect.
if you would wait and let the staff finish up and then you
I
can make any
apologize.
comments.
Okay. And staff is alleging that Ms. Lindstrom violated RCW 4217A 205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration or PDC form C1. The C1 report was due to be filed within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate, and she has now filed the report, and staff recommends that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 205 against Ms. Lindstrom for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the report prior to the date of the hearing, and that base penalty is $0 to $150. I'm available for questions.
I do have a question on the docket that we have. It says the base penalty is $250.
And so this report was filed after
Okay,
you
okay.
received your
Got it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
so that was
Can
a
you-
change, sorry.
Can you tell me what day the report was filed?
Yes, I believe it was yesterday.
It was yesterday, Tab.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Ms. Lindstrom, now it's time for you to make your comments. I'm going to swear you in. I can't see you, but if you'd raise your right hand for the formality, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Okay. Tell us what you'd like me to know.
I'm really sorry for interrupting earlier.
That's fine.
I have been a serving commissioner for 5.5 years. I did file to run again, and I was so relieved that I was running unopposed that I completely I didn't follow through on any of the reporting that I needed to do, and I don't have a campaign. I am not taking money. And I just wanted to say that I take full responsibility, and I apologize for being so remiss. And I'm sorry I wasted your time.
Well, you didn't waste our time. We're happy to do this, but thank you for serving as a hospital commissioner. That's and congratulations on being unopposed. That's
Thanks.
probably somewhat of a relief. I know, but yeah, we have to be consistent in applying the rules, and so I do need to find that there is a violation because you did not file a form within the time period required.
Right.
Been reminded by the staff that the penalty Maximum is $150. I'm going to impose that, but suspend 100 of that. So a penalty would be $50 on the assumption that you've now filed the report, so that is helpful, and you don't have any further violations in the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And I had a couple of people join while we were doing our opening. Are either of you Kenneth Wurstoff? If you're joined via phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, so let's skip him and come back. The next on the agenda is Kathleen Strong. This is a change as well, Chair Israelis. And that report was filed, I believe, yesterday. And the participation was moved on your agenda.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So this is PDC case 139605 against Kathleen Strong, who is a candidate for Water and Sewer Commissioner for Silver Lake Water and Sewer District.
Thank you.
Staff is alleging that Ms. Strong violated RCW 4217A 205 for failing to timely file the candidate registration or C1 form that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. And the C1 report has now been filed. There are no prior violations. And staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 205 against Ms. Strong for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the C1 report by the date of the hearing. And that base penalty recommendation is to $150. I'm available for questions.
I don't have any question. Ms. Strong, could you raise your right hand so I can swear you in, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I saw you walking earlier, so I'm glad that you got in a place where you can talk more easily.
I was looking for a pen, but
Okay, well, hopefully you won't need a pen. Any comments that you'd like to make?
I was intending to withdraw from my candidacy for the position and did not do that in time, which was my error, and then neglected to file the appropriate forms. When I got the initial form, I think it's the F1 filing, and somehow missed that I still needed to do the C1. And then I got the notification for the hearing and all that, and I panicked. And I'm so grateful for your staff being as calm and understanding as they are to walk me through what I still needed to do. And then I got I've been out of work since the end of June. I got a part-time job with the Snohomish County Elections Department for a week. And that was a crazy week. And so then anyway, I don't have really any logical reason other than I have had no money because unemployment has still not paid me since I've been out of work. So I did, at the advice of someone on your staff, I did want to come into the hearing today just to ask for leniency on the penalty because we don't have $100 to send or for the fine.
Okay. Thank you for those comments, and thank you for the kind comments about the staff. It's always nice to hear that they're helpful, and we hear that all the time. So thank you for that.
It's true.
But the form wasn't filled on time, so I do need to find a violation. And
And I understand that.
And I'll give you just a piece of advice. If you're having trouble with your unemployment compensation, you might want to give the Unemployment Law Project a call. They're very
Okay.
good. It's a statewide program and they may be able to give you some assistance.
Okay.
It's a wonderful program. I give you the phone number and I don't have it, but it's the Unemployment Law Project.
Okay, I can.
Given
that
your
in the
testimony, I'll impose the fine of $150, but I'll suspend all but $25 on the assumption that there won't be any further violations in the next 4 years. Thank
I
you.
don't plan on any violations.
Okay, well, I wish you the best. Thank you.
Is there a way to know how to pay the fine?
You
Um,
will, yeah,
Tabitha, why don't you explain that to everybody while we have that question?
yeah, so once the proceedings are over, within 30 days, we will be sending out orders. And
Okay.
once you receive the order, you'll be able to submit the payment. It will have the address to send that to, and it will be entered into our system. We just ask that everybody not send their payments prior to receiving the order.
Okay,
But
Thank
that
you.
will be emailed and mailed.
thank you.
Just wait for the order and that'll have instructions on how to deal with the rest of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strong.
Okay, next up, I have Jacob Burkhart. If you can unmute and if you would like, you can turn your camera on. Perfect. So I will give the presentation, then you'll be sworn in. This is PDC case 139616 against Jacob Burkhart, a candidate for school director for Eastmont School District 206. Staff is alleging that Mr. Burkhart violated RCW 4217A 205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration. The registration was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd, 2023. The C1 report has been filed and Mr. Burkhart is here to participate. There are no priors. And staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 205 against Mr. Burkhart for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the C1 report by the date of the hearing. That base penalty is $0 to $150, and I'm available for any questions.
When was the report filed, Tabitha?
This one was not in the last couple of days.
August 3rd.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Burkhart, can I swear you in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you will give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you for filing your report. What do you have to say?
A couple months ago, running for school board was nowhere on my radar. And I had some neighbors approach me that there were not enough candidates for school board. And this is an interim board. And I said, okay, thank you. I'll take some time to think about it. I wanted to reach out to some people in the community, some teachers. And I did, and they informed me, well, you only have 48 hours because the deadline for your candidacy is coming up. And so that day I submitted my candidacy and kind of thought things were good. And then I received the letter on July 8th, kind of caught me off guard. I believe I called in and talked to one of the staff, very helpful. You can see my notes. I've got my login and everything here. And it appears that all I did was fill out my F1 form and not my C1. So I know ignorance is not a defense, but that's what it was for me. I just missed it. And so as soon as I got the notification of a hearing, immediately called back in and like, what did I do wrong? What do I got to do to fix this? And so that's when that was filed. So again, I apologize for the mistake. I totally missed it. I still don't know how I missed it, but not disputing that I did miss it. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
I don't have any questions, except where's the Eastmont School District?
East Wenatchee, Washington.
Okay. Good to know. Spent a lot of time.
And
in
some of the
Wenatchee.
smoke is coming from Washington as well.
Oh, that's not good news. All right. Thank you for your testimony. The form was filed late. I appreciate the confusion between the F1 and the C1, and but I do need to make a finding that there is a violation. I appreciate that you got the form filled out and submitted before today's hearing. I'll impose the base penalty of $150 and suspend all but 25 of that on the assumption that there aren't any further violations in the next 4 years. Now that you're aware of what the requirements are.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
Okay, next step is case number 139622 against Brittany Rock.
Hello.
Hi. All right. So I'll go ahead and give my presentation, then you'll be sworn in.
Okay.
So this is PDC case 139622 against Brittany Rock. Ms. Rock is a candidate for city council member for City of Bonnie Lake. And staff is alleging that Ms. Rock violated RCW 4217A-205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration or C1 form within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The C1 form has been filed. There are no prior violations for Ms. Rock, and staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A-205 against Brittany Rock for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the C1 report by the date of the hearing. That penalty range is $0 to $150, and I am available for questions.
I don't have any questions. Ms. Rock, please raise your hand and get sworn in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you for getting your form filed. We appreciate it. It makes it easier for everybody. Do you have any other additional comments that you'd like to make?
I do. I would have gladly filed my C1 at the time of doing my F1 had I have known that that was something I needed to do. So this is my first time doing anything like this. I got notification of the F1 not being filled out, went in immediately, filled that out, felt relieved that it was completed, and then got notification of this public hearing and freaked out a little bit and called in, and they said, well, there's this form, the C1, that wasn't completed. And I said, okay, well, how do I go about doing that? I did it immediately upon being told that it was incomplete. But honestly, I guess I should have dug for it, but hearing other people's statements along the way, I think there needs to be better verification. Like when you finish the F1, it should automatically take you to fill out a C1 or say, you know, there's an additional form that needs to be done, because for those of us that have never done this, we don't know unless we're told exactly kind of, you know, what needs to be done. So I was told I needed to do an F1, and now I know for next time, so I will never not file an F1 and a C1. But
Well, there are a lot of people that have to file F1s that don't file C1s, just
Okay,
for your information. There
okay,
are a whole host of people who have to file financial disclosures that are not running for elections. So it wouldn't necessarily be intuitive that if someone finishes filling out an F1, that would automatically refer them to a C1. But
okay.
that is, the requirement of the candidate who's filing for office. But thank you for getting the form filed and getting it all ready, and good luck in your campaign this year.
Thank you.
I will find that there's a violation. I will impose the $150 base penalty and suspend all but 25 on the assumption that there's no further violations within 4 years. And just in case I forget to say this, and I have forgotten to say it, but the staff will be sending out the order, and the expectation is that the outstanding penalty that's the non-suspended penalty portion will be paid within 30 days of
Okay.
receipt of the order.
And you said what was the non-suspended portion?
25.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, I do understand that Kenneth, is it Werstoff, has joined? Perfect. So I'll make the presentation, Kenneth, and then you'll be sworn in, okay?
Okay, sounds good. It's Westoff, by the way, but nobody
Westoff.
gets it right.
Okay. So I have PDC case 139599 against Kenneth Westoff, who is a candidate for school director for 9 Mile Falls School District 325-179. PDC staff is alleging that Mr. Westoff violated RCW 4217A-205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The C1 report has been filed, and there are no prior violations. Mr. Westoff also submitted written testimony and is joined here today to give verbal testimony. So that would have been sent over to you for review. PDC staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A-205 against Kenneth Westoff for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the C1 report by the date of the hearing. The base penalty amount for this fact pattern is $0 to $150, and I'm available if you have any questions.
What day was the report filed?
Do you have that up, Jordan?
I don't have it handy. Let me double check it.
July 17th.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
So that would have been shortly after the hearing notice was sent.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Westoff, can I swear you in, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you for getting your form filed. Do you have anything to say in response to Tabitha?
No, I left you a voicemail, Tabitha, because the conference number I had didn't work, and I was scrambling to find another one, and I ended up getting a hold of one of the helpful staff members, and it was like 3 minutes after 1 before I got a new number. So sorry about the delay. No, I provided the written testimony. It's I guess a repeat in some sort of the other individuals on the phone, but it's just lack of knowledge, not knowing what the correct steps are, and since then I've kind of reached out to other members, that were a couple of them that are stepping down, and kind of getting more advice from them on the do's and don'ts. So I'm learning, but at an expense, I guess. But that's how life goes, I guess. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot. Totally on me, so that's how it goes. Sorry.
I appreciate your candor. And yeah, it's, when you decide to run for office, whether it's as governor of the state of Washington or it's the school district of 9 Mile Falls, everybody has to follow the same rules. So I appreciate the nice comments about the staff. I will find that there's a violation. Thank you for getting your report filed over a month ago. That shows good follow through. I'm going to impose the base penalty of $150 and suspend all but 25 of that.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mustafa.
School district is?
Pardon me, do I know where 9 Mile School District is? Yes, I do, because I live in Spokane.
Oh, well, there you go. See? Okay, well.
I have many friends who have their children in that school district.
Good. It's a great school district. I hope I can help it.
Best of
All
luck in
right.
your campaign.
Next
All
up
right.
is
What's
going
that?
to be,
Thank
Oh.
you. We're done. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, bud.
next up is going to be PDC case 139632 for Ben Elkins. If you want to unmute. Perfect. So again, this is PDC case 139632 against Ben Elkins, who is a candidate for fire commissioner in West Thurston Regional Fire Authority, Rochester. Staff is alleging that Mr. Elkins violated RCW 4217A 205 for failing to timely file the candidate registration that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The C1 report has been filed at this time. There are no prior violations, and Mr. Elkins is here to participate. PDC staff recommends that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 205 against Ben Elkins for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the C1 report by the date of the hearing. The base penalty amount for this violation is $0 to $150, and I'm available for questions.
What day was the report filed?
I believe it was the 17th.
It was the 17th. That's correct.
July 17th.
July 17th. Okay. I was going to say that's today.
Oh.
All right, Mr. Elkins. Let's swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Anything to say in response to Tabitha?
Yes, thank you. I just want to reiterate Miss Tabitha's help when I called her on the phone once I got the letter. Basically, I don't deny the mistake. Obviously, I'm asking the mercy of the chair for this hearing. Basically, when this all occurred, it was like a perfect storm. I am currently a fire commissioner with West Thurston, and on the file date, I was supposed to refile for my position, and I missed the file date, thinking I still had one more year left. So I found by trying to research on my own that I could still do a write-in. So I was going to do a write-in thinking I didn't have to do anything. Well, luckily I got a call the last day of the write-in where you had to register or file as that. Went in that day to file, filed as a write-in. And then, let's see, I wrote some notes here so I can kind of get my sequence of events appropriately. And let's see. So when I did the write-in file in person, I used a new email address, mail.com. In the past, I've used gmail.com. Now, when I've been a fire commissioner now, I believe for almost 4 years, and I used Gmail. And prior to that, I was a school board director for 16 years with Rochester. And again, I use Gmail, and during that whole period, I've never missed a C1 or an F1. And because I use this email, I don't normally check the email. I do now, but I missed those notifications in regards to filing the C1. And I didn't realize I missed that until I got the letter in the mail. And that's when I reached out to Miss Tabitha. So anyway, I just want to, obviously ask for forgiveness. I don't deny the mistake. And obviously I won't forget to do this in the future. And I may want to actually change that email if that's an option to my Gmail account, because I don't want to use mail.com because I don't look at that enough. So anyway, that's really all I have to do, but I just want to ask for the mercy from you, Ms. Chair.
Thank you very much. And the fact that you've served in various capacities for a number of election cycles, I can see where it was just an honest mistake. I understand that. I think you can probably check with Tabitha about how to update your email address so that this problem doesn't present itself again. I don't know if I've ever, since I'm presiding over these things, I don't know if I've ever had one involving a write-in candidate, so you might be my first. But there was a technical violation. I need to find that as such. And I will impose $150 and suspend all but 25 with the usual conditions that there be no further violations and it gets paid within 30 days of the order.
All right, I appreciate that.
And I appreciate. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Kathy.
Mr. Elkins, I made a note for Jordan or I to reach out to you after the hearing to help you get the record updated.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Sorry about that, Cherisos. I have PDC case 139617 with Casey Alanis, and this is a change. The participation in the filing status, I do believe, for you.
What's the last name?
Alanis, Alanis. She was in the not filed previously. I do believe on yours.
Just looking. Hang on a minute.
Yes,
Yeah.
mine.
It's case number 139617, Casey. It's Kaycie. Alanis. For Vashon School District. I don't know if that'll help you find it.
Should be the third one down on the C1 filed. Or
Oh,
sorry,
it
third
was-
one from the bottom. Pardon me.
On the
So it's
bottom.
the participation that changed. Or when we mailed it to you first.
It's on page 3 in that first table. Third one from the bottom.
Yeah, found it.
Perfect.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, my apologies.
That's
Vashon
okay.
School District. Got it. I know where
Yes.
that is. Okay, sorry.
All right. So this is PDC case 139617 against Casey Alanis, who is a candidate for school director with Vashon School District 402. Staff is alleging that Ms. Alanis violated RCW 4217A205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration or C1 form that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd, 2023. The C1 report has been filed. There are no prior violations. And staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against Casey Alanis for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the C1 report by the date of the hearing. The base penalty is $0 to $150, and I'm available for questions.
My only question, and I'll probably ask this for each case where the report has been filed before the hearing, when was the report filed?
July 13th. I think that's the day after the hearing notice went out.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Is it Alanis or Alanis?
Alanis.
Alanis, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thanks for filing the form. Anything else you'd like to add?
I would just like to add that this is my first time running, so I really had no idea what to expect. When I had some extenuating circumstances around the time of filing my candidacy that I actually registered to file, to run on a plane going to my grandfather's funeral. And in the aftermath of that, my grandmother was in the hospital for a few weeks. She got very sick, his widow, and I am their sole caretaker. So I really just missed the emails. I actually didn't realize that they came even after I got the notice. I was like, how did this happen? I never got any notification. I didn't know I had to do anything until I looked back in my email. But as soon as I got the notice, I filed, and I apologize. And I was talking with Tabitha this morning about filing again, annually. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to have this issue. If I have these kinds of issues again in years to come, that would be a really bad stroke of luck. So that's my story.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hopefully if you run again, you won't have the personal difficulties that you had. I'm amazed that you got it filed while you were on an airplane. That's a new one for me.
I had boarded. We weren't in the air yet. I'm actually at the doctor's right now with my grandmother. So this is ongoing, but we're not in crisis mode anymore. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate that you got the form filed. I will find that there's a technical violation. It wasn't filed on time. I'll impose the base penalty of $150 and suspend all but 25.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are moving to another section of participants. This is going to be candidates with no prior violations who failed to file the C1 before the hearing. Do I have Carson? Is it Mastis? If you'll unmute yourself, if you're joined via phone, it's *6. Oh, we had someone drop. There could be an issue. We can come back to that one. I have Jason Jake Hunter, case number 139619. If you can unmute yourself. Again, we have people joined via phone. It is *6 to unmute yourself if you've joined via phone. Okay. So we'll come back to them as one of the phone participants did just drop off when I was trying to get that person. So could be having difficulties. The next section is candidates with no prior violations who filed the F1 before the hearing. So the first one up on that section is Ron Woodman. Are you available, Mr. Woodman?
I am.
Perfect. So this is PDC case 139570 against Ron Woodman, who is a candidate for city council member for the city of Elma. And staff is alleging that Mr. Woodman violated RCW 4217A700 by failing to timely file the personal financial affairs statement or F1 form that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The F1 has been filed and there are no prior violations. Mr. Woodman is here participating, and staff recommends that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 700 against Ron Woodman for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the F1 report by the date of the hearing. The base penalty recommendation is $0 to $150 for this fact pattern, and I am available for questions if you have any. I think Kim knows the date that it was filed.
August 6th.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Woodman, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely, I do.
Oh, good. What do you have to say?
Well, I'll start off with everybody that has helped me through this process was amazing. Thank you so much. If anybody's here, I think Tabitha was, and there was another gentleman that helped me out. I just have to claim, and I know it's not an excuse, ignorance. When you step up to do something like this, nobody gives you a handbook. I just got asked to do it, and I want to be part of my community. And so this has been a learning experience. I just want to ask leniency. I look through my emails, and that seems to be a reoccurring thing here with everybody. I made the mistake of using my personal email instead of making one just for this position, and so it got lost. I mean, I've got Big 5 ads and all kinds of stuff in there that I never look at, but you sign up for, and that's kind of what happened to me. I think I talked to Tabitha, and then I scrolled through 100 messages and finally found it. Well, I apologize for that and ask for leniency.
Thank you for getting involved in your community. We need people like you to step up and do that. And thanks for getting the form filed before the hearing today. I will find that there is a violation. I'll impose the penalty of $150 and suspend all but 25.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Point of order.
I'm
Point
sorry.
of order. I think you might have skipped over me.
Okay.
I think you might have skipped over me. My last name is Irwin. The case number is 139567.
You have not been called on yet. So if you'll,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Just go ahead and mute yourself. It's *6 to mute and unmute if you're dialed in by phone. Next up is Veronica Bermudez, 139568. Are you available?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. So this is PDC case 139568 against Veronica Bermudez, who is a candidate for school director for Granger School District 204. Staff is alleging that Ms. Bermudez violated RCW 4217A 700 by failing to timely file the Personal Financial Affairs Statement, or F1 form, within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The F1 is now filed. There are no prior violations, and staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 700 against Veronica Bermudez for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the F1 report by the date of the hearing. The recommended penalty is $0 to $150.
The report was filed July 17th.
Thank you. We have a lot of July 17th report date filing dates. That's interesting to note. All right, Ms. Bermudez, would you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if others can.
I'm sorry. I'm on my way to Auburn and we're on the Highway 18, so I'm hoping you can hear me.
Okay, I'll get a little closer to my computer. Do you have any comments to make in response to what Tabitha just said?
The only comment I have is that this is my first time running. I'm running unopposed. I was asked to run for this position, which I'm very grateful for, and I'm excited for running, for being on the school board this coming year. The only comment I have is that I hardly check my email. It's very bad habit, and I work full time. And I guess all my emails were coming in and about filing, and it just went past me. And I reached out to school board members to help me with the C1 F1. I had no idea what that was or what I was doing. It's all new to me. But as soon as I got the email and checked it, I was able to file. But I'm sorry I did it a little bit too late. And I guess that's all I have. I don't have a computer at home or a printer, anything like that. So I kind of just rely on my phone to check my emails, which I hardly do. It's a bad habit, but I need to start doing that more frequently.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to be running for any kind of public office, checking emails is probably an important thing to do.
Yes.
So I will find that there's a violation. I'll impose a $150 base penalty and suspend all but 25 of that since you filed the report before the hearing.
Okay. And as far as I'm going to get information on how to pay that $125.
Yeah, when the order comes, it'll be very specific as to what, wait until you get the order, and then there'll be instructions on how to do that.
Okay. Also, I have a question. I have my personal statement due also. I don't have a printer, but I can probably go in and try to print that out. Do I just send that back? Also, or is there another way I can do it?
I'm going to let Tabitha take that question.
Yeah,
Are you referring to your voter pamphlet statement?
I think so. What was that question again?
Are you referring to your voter pamphlet statement?
Is that the one that I have to sign and send back?
Possibly. That it would be likely due to your county auditor.
Okay, I thought this was like the PA something statement, personal statement that was due in June.
But
I think I reached out to you, Tabitha, about it. It was a statement I needed to print out, sign it, and return it.
oh, you're talking about the statement of understanding. That deadline to utilize that to not come to the hearing has passed. So now that you've participated, you'll receive an order with the $25 penalty and instructions on how to send that payment in.
Okay, so it's a $25.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will look out for that, and that's on my email. And I will just let you know I will be checking my emails now that I'm on the school board. That is going to be a habit for me. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, moving into the next section is candidates with no prior violations who failed to file the F1 prior to the hearing. And first up, I have Crystal Olivia Irwin. And if you can unmute yourself. Okay. And I believe she's still here. Are you still here, Ms. Irwin? It's *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Okay, perfect. So I'll give my presentation and then you'll be sworn in and can give your testimony at that time. Okay. So this is PDC case 139567 against Crystal Olivia Irwin, who is a candidate for city council member for the city of Colville. The staff is alleging that Ms. Irwin violated RCW 4217A 700 by failing to file the personal financial affairs statement or F1 report within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd, 2023. The F1 report was not filed prior to the date of the hearing. There are no prior violations, and staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 700 against Crystal Olivia Irwin for failing to file the F1 report and assess the appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who failed to file the F1 report before the date of the hearing. The base penalty for this fact pattern is $250, and I'm available for questions.
I don't have any questions. Ms. Irwin, can I swear you in, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Tell us why the F1 hasn't been filed.
Yes. Well, thank you. Is it Isserlis? Am I
Yes.
pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so I'm acknowledging here that not only are you presiding over this, but you're a commissioner that often adjudicates or creates policy. And so my comments today are partly geared to that. I just want to say that I had some trouble joining the conference today. There was no conference code given in the letter, and it was hard to get a hold of staff. And so that's why I thought that perhaps it skipped over me. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to say something about this. So this is not my first rodeo. I have been a candidate on and off since 2001. And back then the F1 was just a 2-pager, and you basically just chose intervals of income and debt. And I didn't quite, not that I liked it, not that I think it made sense to do it, but it wasn't as big of a deal. And in reference to what some folks have said earlier, you used to get a manual, and so I'm belaboring that at this moment because it has become more important in my life and in I think most people's lives lately, now that we're being expected to download apps and know things about computers and be connected, and there are a lot of people being left on the other side of the digital divide. What I also noticed is there are no instructions for anyone to ask for accommodations under the ADA. And so I actually view the whole scheme here as very ableist and very much a barrier to access to the ballot. I think a point has gotten lost here. The legislative intent for Darcy W 4217A explicitly states that although the aim is maximum transparency, it should not be so complex and so complicated that volunteers and newcomers to the political process cannot understand the rules or have difficulty following them. It says it should not be a barrier to participating in the political process, but instead encourage people to participate in the process by ensuring a level playing field and balancing that with the public's right to know who funds political campaigns. That is really what we're supposed to be aiming for, to figure out who is funding political campaigns, and to expedite the Public Disclosure Commission's enforcement procedures. And I would argue that unfortunately the over-reliance on the internet and the iPortal has actually made the agency itself less effective than it could be. The intent further states that it's not to trap or embarrass people. I would add there that it shouldn't just be some extra revenue stream when you catch people not following the rules. The Public Disclosure Commission should be guided to review and address major violations, intentional violations, and violations that could change the outcome of an election or materially affect the public interest. I'll also note that under RCW 4217A 240, Section 2D, the Commission may suspend or modify reporting requirements for payments received by an incidental committee in cases of manifestly unreasonable hardship. There's also exemptions for some other things based on that manifest or unreasonable hardship basis, and I'm challenging that as well. And so, although I could say here, and it would be completely true, that I have applied or declared for a position that there was no cost for the filing fee. It's a very small jurisdiction. There's only 2 of us, so we're only starting our campaigns now. And so there's I haven't taken any receivables, haven't spent any money. I have asked for paper forms and not received them. And so that's one reason that you don't have the information. I will mention, though, that I have filled it out online many times. The last time was in 2020. And although I realize that wasn't within 2 weeks of this latest declaration, the information is still good. And also that information is still published, which is a concern for me. And so the standard here for getting paper forms is just ridiculous. Why would I have to prove that I don't? The standard is actually that someone lacks the technological ability, and that's not my particular situation. But there are other factors that I don't feel comfortable sharing here, but that I did share with staff in asking for paper forms. But it shouldn't have to go through 2 and 3 staff members and an executive director to get paper forms from my government. And so this hardship standard also overlooks the fact that a lot of people don't want to be connected to the internet, or it's other ableist presumptions that presume that only hardship of some sort should justify giving someone paper forms. And so the other issue that arises for me is the fact that the questions on the F1, I realize that it's gone to web-based now versus downloading and creating a database, which is what you used to have to do. But the questions themselves are invasive. They bear no relationship or rational basis to the intent of the statute, which is to find out who's paying for campaigns. And again, I would say that violating these sorts of rules and being sanctioned, it's just another revenue stream for the agency. And that the questions that are being asked, if in any other context, would violate RCW 4256, which is the Public Records Act chapter, and it 050 describes when it is an invasion of privacy, and they use the standard of it being highly offensive to a reasonable person. And I'll just give an example here. Being asked about my spouse's social security status, or who holds my mortgage, or it's not even my mortgage, I had to report on it because I live here, is way too invasive. And if you look at the Public Records Act and the whole harmonious schema of the types of data that state agencies are allowed to gather and allowed to publish as 2 separate concepts are very well delineated under that chapter. And even though this is a different chapter that applies to this agency, there's case law that that applies that standard across agency functions. For instance, taxation.
Ms. Irwin, Ms. Irwin,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to have to ask you to try and wrap up your comments because we
Okay.
have a number of other hearings to get to today.
All right, I've only got a half page left. So, so the statute refers to Hurst v. Hopp, and so anyone can look that up. But it also it was examining a taxation. It's actually disclosure. An agency had refused to disclose personal information associated with taxation, and the courts refer to the Public Records Act again and again for the standard of what kind of information can be disclosed. And that's separate, as I said, from what can be gathered. I'm not as opposed to certain information being gathered by the agency, but in this information age, all of that information is web-based, which is not secure, and also available to anyone in Washington, but also in Tahiti and in China. And it is time, I think, for people to push back against this process. As I said, you could refer to RCW 4256 for what personal and other records are supposed to be exempt from disclosure. They include personal financial information and information on any physical or mental disability and so forth. Employer information. I know these are regularly gathered by the agency. And so, so even as someone with a background in IT, I feel the obligation to give the agency a little pushback here. Like I said, I'm waiting for paper forms, but your staff has made the point that even if I file it in paper, the information will still be published. And so on the basis of privacy, on the lack of rational basis between the questions and the legislative intent, I am going to be using the Public Records Act as a guide for the type of information I will not be providing either online or on paper. And so I realize that you can level a sanction now, but what I would suggest is that please take my comments under advisement as someone who has interacted with this agency quite a bit. And so I put that before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just by way of, I don't mean to get into a discourse here, but I am going to make a couple of comments in response to what you've raised. The rules and the law under which the Public Disclosure Commission operates has been on the books for more than 50 years. It was passed by the citizens of this state by initiative. And I appreciate the comments that you've made, but the law is pretty clear that candidates who are filing for public office have certain requirements to file information, and whether it's by a paper form or by computer, that information is required by law. And so if you have concerns about that, or you think that the law should be changed, then I would encourage you to work with your elected officials to see if that's a possible avenue of redress. But we don't have the ability to change the law. We have to enforce the law. And so, and I didn't hear anything in your comments that you intend to file the document. It is required. You're running for an elective office in the city of Colville, and I think the citizens of Colville should have the opportunity to have all of the information that the law requires you to provide when you are running for office. So with that, and with the testimony that you've given today, I am going to impose the base penalty of $250. I will suspend 100 of that if the F1 is filed within 30 days and the fine that's imposed is paid. So that gives you 30 days to file the form. I'll let you work with Tabitha or whoever else at the agency you want to work with to make sure that the information is provided that's required by law.
Madam, yes, I did say I intend to provide information. It's the publication. Well, sorry, never mind. No discourse. I accept and will appeal, and that's the way that we'll try to change the law.
Okay, well, and I encourage you to check with your elected officials because they may be able to take that concern into consideration.
Thank you.
All right, next case.
Okay. Next case is Jody Kerr. Are you available, Ms. Kerr? I know that we have had some people come in and drop out, and I don't know if people are having technical difficulties. Let me just try this again. Carson Mastis, are you on the line? If so, you can unmute yourself. Or Jason Jake Hunter. Okay. Moving on then. I have written participation, but we'll go with the people who called in that weren't on the agenda as calling in to get to them. Let's see here. I have Justin Stenick. If you can unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Perfect. And so this is going to be in the C1 reports. The first one on candidates with no prior violations who filed C1 report before the hearing. Do you find that? Chair Israelis?
I'm looking for the last name.
Oh, yes, Stenick, Stennick, and it's 139583.
Yeah, the
Cowlitz.
numbers aren't the numbers aren't helpful to me. It's the
Oh,
Page two.
Okay.
Third
Fine.
page. Third page, top
oh,
row.
it's because it was all in caps. That's why I didn't see it. Okay.
Oh,
I found
yeah.
it.
Okay, so this is PDC case 139583 against Justin Stenick, who is a candidate for fire commissioner with Cowlitz Fire Protection District 6. PDC staff is alleging that Justin Stenick violated RCW 4217A205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration form C1, which was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The C1 report has been filed. There are no prior violations. And staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against Mr. Stenick for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the C1 report before the date of the hearing. The base penalty for this is $0 to $150, and I am available for questions if you have any.
When was the report filed, Kim?
August 7th.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stenick, would you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, what do you have to say?
So I went online the day that I filed for my candidacy after having issues with the PDC in the past. I went in and went to the PDC's website, went into the C1 section, and literally copied all of my information from previous candidacy and went through everything, verified any updates, and clicked process. I did not notice the emails like others have said because they like to go to my, I think it's the updates folder or something in my Gmail box, and was made aware of this situation while I was out of the country when my son called me and sent me a text with a photo of the hearing letter. So once I was able to get to the internet, I was able to log into the PDC's website where it showed processing with a yellow check mark. I even took a screenshot of it. There was no other option, so I went through line by line and did the review. And only after I went through every single item and clicked I think it's like verify and sign, I typed the I agree in all caps. And then it went back to processing again. But the very next morning, I got the notification that it was accepted. So I don't know if it was hung up in there somewhere, but it was, and I don't know if there's a way to verify, but it was filed on the day that I did my candidacy, which I believe was like Wednesday of the week of filing. So I'm just asking for leniency. It's, again, the email thing is very frustrating because I'm not an email hound. And it was only when I got the last letter that my son read it to me after I got the information. So that's all I had.
Okay, well, sounds like that application might have been spinning out there in Never Never Land the first time, but thank you for your persistence in following up and getting it filed. And compliance is the most important thing for us, making sure that all the information is available to folks. I will find that there's a violation. I'll impose the base penalty of $150 and suspend all but 25 for your efforts to finalize and get it filed. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on, I have a couple more that are joined in here that were not on the participation list. So let me find them. I have Teresa Hernandez, which is just down the list for Mr. Stenek. School District Director for Toppenish School District. Do you see that one?
I do.
Just towards the bottom. Perfect. All right. So this is PDC case 139628 against Teresa Hernandez, who is a candidate for School Director for Toppenish School District 202. Staff is alleging that Ms. Hernandez violated RCW 4217A205 for failure to timely file the candidate registration that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd, 2023. The missing C1 report has been filed. There are no prior violations. And staff recommends that you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against Teresa Hernandez for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the C1 report before the date of the hearing. That recommended penalty is $0 to $150, and I am available if you have any questions.
Kim?
The report was filed July 21st.
Thank you. Ms. Hernandez, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. What would you like to say?
So I did receive all of the emails and all of the letters. On June 8th, I filled out and signed the C1. To the best of my knowledge, it was signed and turned in. When I received a letter afterwards, I thought, I don't have to, I already did this. I also did it with the support of a rep. So I called the 1-800 number. I had somebody walk me through it because I didn't understand it. And so, you know, I did that. I said, is there anything else I have to do? He said, no. When I got the letter of a hearing, I called and I spoke to Jordan and I was like, I don't understand. I signed it. And he's like, well, according to my records, you didn't. And so, you know, very black and white. I understand that. And so I told him that I was going to log in and figure out what went wrong, because I tried to ask him, you know, if there was a record of when I called in and who I spoke to, because I didn't just do it by myself. And it's not that I don't check my email. I've heard that several times. I don't know. I was a high school teacher during 2020, so I learned how to be real tech savvy real fast. At any rate, I did want to come here. I did want to explain that. When I went to have it, so when I was talking to Jordan, I said, can you go on there? Can you see? Because I know I filled it out. And he said, yes, it is filled out. You just didn't sign it. And so when I went on there, I swear I did the exact same thing that I did the first time. It said to sign it. I clicked the button and this time it went. So I'm not sure what happened the first time. And that, I mean, that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Yeah, as always, the staff is so helpful in making sure that some of those little technicalities get paid attention to, so that the reports get filed, which is the most important thing in my book. I will find that there's a violation. It wasn't filed on time. I'll impose the fine of $150 and suspend all but 25. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Tracy Waddington, if you can unmute yourself. This one is going to be further down, I believe, the 6th page for you, Chair Isserlis. So, all right, perfect. So the category here is candidates with no prior violations who filed F1 reports before the hearing. Did you find that, Alan?
Yeah. Got it.
Commissioner Hayward, sorry.
Yes, I did. Thank you. No problem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is PDC case 139557 against Tracy Waddington, who is a candidate for school director for Lisle School District 406. Staff is alleging that Ms. Waddington violated RCW 4217A 700 for failure to timely file the personal financial affairs statement, or F1 form, that was due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. And records show that the F1 report is now filed. There are no prior violations. And staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 700 against Tracy Waddington for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the F1 report before the date of the hearing. And I'm available for questions.
Report was filed August 7th.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Waddington, let's swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Well, what would you like to say?
Well, I don't really have much to say. Not filing on time was totally on me. I got the letter dated July 13th. I saw, to avoid the hearing, file your F1 report no later than August 7th, but I missed the second half of it. So I really don't, there's not much else to say. And I think we're almost at the end.
By August 7th.
I did, but I didn't. It also said that I had to submit the form.
Oh, that would just have meant you didn't have to attend the hearing today.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
It would have saved you some time on the
That's
the docket this afternoon.
That's all right. So there's really, I really don't, I mean, I put it off. I got your reminders. I have so many things. It doesn't matter. It's on me. I'm sorry that I didn't file on time. It's in now.
Where's the Lisle School District?
We are right along the Columbia River on the Oregon border in Klickitat County. So kind of directly south of Yakima,
Okay.
but right on the border.
Got it.
And we're right over the limit. We have 2,200 registered voters. If we were under 2,000, we wouldn't have to, we wouldn't even have to do the F1.
Yeah, we've had a couple of situations where people get tripped up on that very issue.
Yeah, I know. We're so close to the limit, but we are over, so.
Well, at least you paid attention to it. That's good.
Yeah.
I will find that there's a violation. I'll impose the base penalty of $150 and suspend all but 25. So wait for the order to come, and if you have any questions, call Tabitha.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay, it looks like we've got one more person who is on the phone, and I just see a phone number. So I have 509-864-7262. If you could unmute yourself and give me your name and case number if you have it. I'm unable to hear you. I see that you unmuted.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
I sure can. What was your case number and your name?
My name is Elise A. Washeen, and my case number is 139545.
Okay, give me just one moment to locate you here.
Page 4.
Alan
She's
is on it. All right. I'm not oh, there she is. Okay. Okay, and so this is regarding an F1 report. Did you find that as well, Chair Isserlis?
I did.
Okay. So this is PDC case 139545 against Elise. And how did you say your last name?
Washeen.
Aha, Washeen, who is a candidate for school director for Toppenish School District 202. Staff is alleging that Ms. Washeen violated RCW 4217A700 by failing to timely file the personal financial affairs. I'm sorry?
Tabitha went mute on my record, on my computer.
Oh, okay. So let me start that statement over again. Staff is alleging that Ms. Washeen violated RCW 4217A700 by failing to timely file the personal financial affairs statement or F1 form within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The F1 report has been filed prior to the start of this hearing. There are no prior violations, and staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A700 against Elise Washeen for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the F1 report before the date of the hearing. The recommended base penalty is $0 to $150, and I'm available for questions.
When was the report filed?
I'm reviewing the record now. Tab, could you take a look at it, please? I just sent you the person.
Yeah. Okay, so the F1 would have been filed July 15th, 2023.
I'm not sure that was I
Yeah.
think the appropriate F1 that would have covered this has been filed in March.
Ah,
No, I'm
so there was
confused.
an appointment to office in here. So this one, for some reason, should not have appeared because they were appointed to office. It looks like April 26, 2022. They filed their annual report that covered January through December of 2022 and would not have been required to file the candidate F1. So this is one of those oddball ones that flipped through that system there. So actually, we just need to, I guess, close this one down administratively.
Ms. Washeen, I don't think there's any need for me to swear you in because it's apparent that there's an error on our side, that the paperwork was properly filed. So my apologies to you that you've had to wait on the phone all this time for this, but it's based on what Tabitha's telling me, everything's okay. And the case will be closed administratively. There'll be no fine.
Thank you.
Perfect. Sorry about that, Nancy. All
I
right.
was trying to find out, follow all the dates. I was confused until I thought it through.
Right. It does get a little tricky when they're annuals and they're candidates, especially when they're appointed midway and yeah. Okay, so that is all of the participants that we had dialed in. However, there were a couple on the list that did not join. And what I could do is we could hear them now to clear up the top of the agenda and then go to our written participant, or we can drop them into the group below where they would be fitting.
Well, I see that there's one person has a 1509 phone number. Is that a participant that we need to let in?
That was just Miss Washinus. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Washeen. Okay. Hopefully she'll disconnect here.
Okay.
If somebody's not in person, let's just fold them back into the group docket.
Okay.
I don't know that we need to pull them out specifically.
So let's handle our one that had the written participation who was not joining by phone. I had communication with him. His job does not afford him to dial in, so he submitted written participation to you.
And I read that.
Okay. I'll go ahead and present for you. It's PDC case 139558 against Brandon Barnes, who is a candidate for school director for Napavine School District 14. Staff is alleging that Mr. Barnes violated RCW 4217A 700 by failing to timely file the personal financial affairs statement or F1 form within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. The F1 form has been filed. There are no prior violations. The respondent did participate in writing, and staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 700 against Brandon Barnes for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who did file the F1 report before the date of the hearing and provided written testimony. The base penalty amount for this fact pattern is $0 to $150.
When was his report filed?
Sorry, I don't have that.
It was, I believe, last week. Let me just pull him up. Or it was the week before. Let me see. I have it as July 17th. I spoke with him the week before.
All right, I've read and reviewed his written submission, which I will take as his testimony had he been here in person. I'll impose the maximum fine and suspend all but $25 of it.
Okay, so that's 150 with 125 suspended.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So then moving into the next section, I have, sorry, my pages got messed up now because I was making notes. So I have the first section here, which is under the C1 reports with candidates with no prior violations who filed the C1 report before the hearing. We have heard 2 of these already. So I will read the case number and name for each of the ones that remain. Okay, so I have PDC cases 139589 against Matt Carrion and 139592 for Aaron Bezenet. I have 139595 against Morgan Cooper. 139596 against Heidi Souvenir. 139601 against Adam Barr. 139602 against Brandon Faust. 139610 Kiera Kaylin Ashley. And 139630 against Wallace Shearer. Staff is alleging that these respondents did not timely file the C1 report within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or no later than June 2nd. And there are no prior violations and no participation in this proceeding. Staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against the previously mentioned respondents for failing to timely file the C1 reports and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for filers with no prior violations who did file the C1 report by the date of the hearing, but did not enter into a statement of understanding. The base penalty for this fact pattern is $150, and I am available if you have any questions.
Did any of the folks on the list that you just read off get in contact with you?
There was some communication between a couple of them about assistance with filing and such. Some failed statement of understandings where they were mailed way beyond the deadline were returned, and that applies to not only this section, but a couple others. So they were postmarked after our postmark deadline of the 7th. So automatically they get returned. Some of them tried to submit in other sections, just so that you know the full background here with the statement of understandings. They had submitted a statement of understanding with a payment and had not filed the report, which is not the case in these ones, but we did have these issues with our statements of understanding this go around.
Is that unusual?
in the number that we got this time, I feel like that was a little higher than normal. Normally we'll get 1 or 2. But this time we did get a small handful. And we returned ones without filings or ones that missed the postmark deadline.
Okay, but just so the record's clear, they've all filed now.
These ones in this group have filed, and you know, like I said, there was some communication with a couple of them, at least I know for myself, and I believe looking through notes just on how to file, when to file, those kinds of things, how to participate if they chose to.
And this is just curiosity killed the cat for me. What percentage of people, if you know, who fit into this category, sign and return the statement of understanding?
There was quite a few. At the bottom of the agenda, there is a statement of understanding section.
Okay.
And the majority of those are C1 filers. We had more C1s missing than F1s in this particular round. And so there was a high number of people who actually successfully turned in a statement of understanding.
Okay. I hope that continues to be a good vehicle to resolve these kinds of issues.
Yes.
All right. So for that group of people who filed C1 reports before the hearing, but didn't sign and return a statement of understanding, I'll find the violations as to each. I'll impose a base penalty for each of $150, and I will suspend half of that. Okay. That's to encourage people to sign this thing and send it in.
Yes. Okay, perfect. I'm going to hand it over to Jordan.
All right, I'll be taking us the rest of the way through this. So this is going to be candidates with no prior violations who failed to file the C1 report before the hearing. So this is going to be PDC cases 139606, Carson Mastis, who's up in the participating section, but didn't show up. Then we're going to move back down to the main table here. 139582, Aaron Murray. 139590, Kelly Frazier. 139593, Katie Rose. 139600, Lloyd P. Malone III. 139603, David Queeg. 139607, Miles Seidner. 139612, Harvey Pellebor. 139614, Angela Baldwin. 139615, Clifton Ray Dreyer. 139619, Jason Jake Hunter, who was up in the participating section but didn't end up showing up. And actually, he did file his report, so sorry about that. He filed it right before the hearing.
Do we need to take him in a different?
Yeah.
Well, let's follow up with him after we do this. Okay.
Yeah. 139620, Anthony Williams. 139623, Ellen Branch. 139631, Lucy Van Pelt. Staff is alleging that these respondents violated RCW 4217A205 by failing to file their C1 reports within 2 weeks of becoming candidates or by June 2nd.
Jordan, if I could ask, what was the first name you gave? It wasn't in the order of the list.
It was Carson Mastis.
And he's up on page what?
2.
1.
Page 1? Okay.
Or 2.
Yeah, he's on page 2.
Okay.
Bottom of that first table.
Okay, got it.
These respondents failed to file the missing C1 report by the date of the hearing. And none of them are participating. None of them have priors. Staff recommends that you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against these respondents for failing to file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with no prior violations who failed to file the C1 report by the day of the hearing. In this case, that penalty schedule calls for a penalty of $250. I'm available if you have any questions.
I don't. And what was the name of the gentleman that we're going to pull out who filed the form?
Jason J. Hunter.
Okay. So with respect to everybody but Mr. Hunter, it's campaign season and filing of a C1 report is kind of an important thing these days if you're running for office. So I will find a violation as to each of the people that you mentioned. I will impose the maximum base penalty of $250. I will suspend 100 of that on the condition that they get the form filed within 30 days and they pay the outstanding penalty.
All right. And so let's do Mr. Hunter real quick. So this would be PDC case 139619, Jason Jake Hunter. Staff is alleging this respondent violated RCW 4217A205 by failing to timely file the C1 report, which were due within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or by June 2nd. This report has been filed today. And they said they were going to participate, but they didn't. End up showing up here. So staff recommends you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against the respondent for failing to timely file the C1 report in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the report by the date of the hearing but does not participate. In this case, that penalty would be $150.
I'm a little more lenient with folks who get the form filed long before the hearing. The fact that he got it filed yesterday, so he's still has it filed, but I'll find a violation, impose the fine of $150, and I'll suspend all but 50 if he pays the fine within 30 days and doesn't commit any future violations.
Okay, so we're going to be moving to our next section, which is one person. So this is going to be PDC case 139585, Sheila McLaughlin. Staff is alleging that this respondent violated RCW 4217A205 by failing to timely file the candidate registration C1 within 2 weeks of becoming a candidate or by June 2nd. The report has been filed. And we have not received any communication from this respondent. They do have one prior violation. Staff recommends you find a violation of RCW 4217A205 against this respondent for failing to timely file the C1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with one prior violation who filed the report by the date of the hearing. In this case, that base penalty would be $300.
Since this is a second violation, was the prior late filing remedied and was any fine imposed paid?
If they're with us, they definitely filed the report. And I'm not sure on the penalty off the top of my head. I can look that up in just a second.
So it does look like the report was filed.
And I'm not seeing outstanding penalty balance.
Okay. All right. All right, I'll find that there is a violation. The base penalty is $300. She did file the report. I don't like to reward repeat offenders, but I will suspend half of that if she pays the fine within 30 days.
All right, so that's 300 with 150 suspended.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next section. Let me just double check that none of these were folks who didn't show up. Nope. All right, so.
Jordan, the only one that's left that didn't show is going to be in your failed to file F1. So the next one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I just double checked that. All right, so this is going to be F1 candidates who filed their reports. So this is going to be PDC cases 139548, Christian Hayton, 139551, Bobby Tucker, 139552, Daryl Watson Jr., 139556, Joy Thomas Radigan, and 139565, Edry Price. All the staff is alleging that these respondents violated RCW 4217A700 by failing to timely file the personal financial affairs statement, which were due within 2 weeks to become a candidate or by June 2nd. In these cases, these respondents have all filed their reports by the date of today's hearing, and none of them have prior violations, and none of them participate today. Staff recommends you find a violation of RCW 4217A700 against these respondents for failing to timely file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the report by the date of the hearing. In this case, that penalty would be $150.
I don't want to go through every single one, but did most of these people file in response to the notice, or did they wait until last night?
In this case, they would have all filed before last night.
Okay. All right. I will find as to each that there has been a violation. I'll impose the base penalty of $150 and suspend all but 50 if it's paid within 30 days.
So now we're going to move on to the folks who failed to file. So this is going to be PDC cases 139578, Jody Kerr, who, as I said, who is up in the participation section. Then we're going to move back down to 139546, David E. Hitchen, 139547, Carrie Hubler, 139572, Leah Tim McKenrick, 139574, Paul Thompson, 139576, Andrew Friedman, 139579, Karis Cersei. These respondents, staff is alleging a violations of RCW 4217A700 for failing to file the personal financial affairs statement F1 by the date of the hearing, which were due within 2 weeks of the candidate declaring their candidacy or by June 2nd. None of these filers have filed the missing F1 report, and none of them have any priors. And none of them responded to the or indicated they were participating today. Staff recommends you find a violation of RCW 4217A700 against these respondents for failing to file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the F1 report, or who failed to file the F1 report by the day of the hearing. In this case, that penalty would be $250. Bill, if you have any questions.
No questions. I will find that there is a penalty as to each. I'll impose the base penalty of $250. I'll suspend $100 if they get the F1 report filed within 30 days.
All right. So we have one person left, and this would be an annual official who failed to file the report before the hearing.
I'm sorry, Jordan, you included, Ms. Kerr in that group, right?
Yes.
She was okay, perfect. I'm just making notes on here. Sorry. Continue.
All right. So this is going to PDC case 139636 against Gladys Gillis, who is an annual official. Staff is alleging that the respondent violated RCW 4217A700 by failing to file the personal financial affairs statement that would have been due on April 17th, 2023, covering calendar year 2022. The respondent has not filed missing F1 report. This respondent has 2 prior violations, which would be PDC cases 80220 and PDC case 110475. They have not responded to the hearing notice at all. Staff recommends you find a violation of RCW 4217A700 against Gladys Gillis for failing to file the F1 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390.37.143 for a filer with 2 prior violations who failed to file the report by the date of the hearing. In this case, that penalty would be $1,000. I'm available if you have any questions.
I do have a question, might be better addressed to Kim. How come this showed up on a brief hearing instead of in front of the full commission since there's multiple violations?
It's still within the brief ability. If she had not filed the previous reports, then it would have gone to full by rule.
Okay. So she had priors, but she satisfied the priors and now she's violated again.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
And she has no outstanding penalties from the prior cases in case you
Okay,
wonder.
so she's cleaned up everything that is in the past. She just hasn't figured out that timeliness is next to godliness. Okay. All right, I will find that there's a violation. I will impose the maximum base penalty. What was the penalty that she had for the last second violation?
Probably 250.
Okay.
It's possible it was an SOU.
Okay.
Double check that. You pull up her order since there may have been a suspended portion.
I am trying to pull it up and my computer is moving so slowly.
I have it up.
Okay.
She was assessed a $300 penalty with 150 suspended on the standard conditions.
And she paid the 150 in a timely manner then?
Yes.
Okay.
But was the stated condition that she would continue to file timely?
Yeah.
For 4 years. So she really hasn't.
So she violated the previous order.
Yes.
So we may have a situation where the suspended portion has come back.
It would. Anything within the 4 years needs to be reinstated. And so that would be something we would be looking at, and then that gets invoiced out separately. You can address it in the order if you would like us to have the wording in there about the suspensions for the previous 4 years worth of suspended penalties.
Is the first violation more than 4 years out?
The case number makes me think it's borderline. When was it, Jordan?
Let me double check that.
Because statute of limitations is 5, but the orders are for 4.
It was 2020, so 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So she has a suspended portion from 2020, a suspended portion from 2021 or 2. Doesn't matter to me. It's been within the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And now she's got this third violation. Okay, let me see if I can say this correctly. I will find that there's a violation. It's a third violation. Ms. Gillis has 2 prior failures to file, although those reports were ultimately filed. She had fines imposed in both of those situations, and which both contained suspended portions as long as there were no further violations within the next 4 years.
So it looks, pardon me for interrupting. It looks
No,
like
no,
on
go
the
ahead.
on the first one, the suspension expired, so she did pay $250, which would have been the totals
Okay, so the first one,
assessed.
the first
Okay,
one
so then we're
gone.
only dealing with 1 suspension, but it's still
Yes.
within the 4-year time period.
Mhm.
So I'll go back and rejigger this. Violation, I'm going to impose a base penalty of $1,000. I'm going to suspend $600 of that if she gets this report filed within 30 days. And she pays all previous outstanding suspended penalties to the extent there are any. And I'm sure you guys can calculate what that is. The most important thing for me is that she get the form filed. And, but we also need to send a message that, you know, doing it 3 times is not a good thing. So you guys can calculate what the outstanding suspended penalties are, plus the new $1,000 plus 600 suspended. And she's going to keep, if she wants to be on the Central Washington University Board of Regents, she better figure out to get her F1 filed in time so that she doesn't have these rolling suspensions going forward.
Yeah, that $600 suspended is significant if she plans on being late again.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay, that's the end of the agenda. If you want to adjourn us, I can stop the recording.
So adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for